are on this great good Sunday again. How lovely that is. Another Sunday. It seems like Sunday, Sunday. Not much space in between. That's the way it seems to me a lot of the time. Don't know about you, but today we get to look at something amazing, intuition. Imagine that. Intuition. It's a word we've known for a long time. It's a word we've thought about sometimes, but it's more than a word. And that's what we want to get into today, the understanding of it being more than a word. And so if you go to the dictionary, of course, you'll get all kinds of explanations, but it does say that intuition is a natural capacity or power to know something without any proof. A natural capacity or power to know something without any proof. Kind of sounds like a definition of faith to me, because that's the same thing with regard to faith. It's knowing something when there's absolutely no evidence to support it, and it's to know it without anything else telling us. It's just knowing we have ourselves. The other definition I liked was, it is the direct perception of the truth without rational process. A direct perception of the truth without rational process. Instant cognition. Just like that. Just like that. That's a good thing to know about intuition, because you have it. Intuition. Well, now you and I are more likely to call it a gut feeling, a hunch, a sixth sense. That's what we're more likely to call this thing called intuition. And really, it pertains to two aspects of how we receive information, how we gain knowledge. There are two aspects to how we do that, and one is through intuition and one is through the senses. The senses has to do with the consciousness of each one of us, our conscious minds, and it has to do with the sense world, or the physical world, or the world out there, or this, the world in material form. That's what the sense world has to do with. It has to do with everything I can see, everything I can hear, everything I can smell, everything I can taste, and everything I can touch. And that's how we glean an awful lot of information and knowledge. It's outside information and knowledge, or common knowledge. It's common knowledge. And we get it from outside of ourselves, and it begins with our parents and our teachers, and it goes on with our mentors and so on, and our coaches and so forth, etc., and so many other people in our lives, and so many other things in our lives that brings us outside information. It's us and our ability to glean the facts and so on, and to learn the facts. That's the five senses world. When you live in the five sense world, you're very oriented toward detail. You're very oriented toward collecting facts. You're very oriented toward the bottom line. You're very oriented toward getting it done according to the rule book, and getting it done according to regulations and so on and so forth. So you're in that kind of framework. A person who is coming mostly from their sense awareness, their five sense awareness, will be given very much to details. They will be given very much to picking up a guidebook, an instruction book, reading the thing from cover to cover, and then assembling together the thing according to these instructions. As the pages go on, they'll do the next thing, and so on and so forth. They're very much caught up in the moment. They're in the present moment. They're in the here. They're in the now. And they are in the now because of their experiences of the past. So the past and the present are very interwoven for the person that's caught up in the five sense world. And as I say, because of the accumulation of experiences in the past, takes them to the moment. They use those experiences and then do whatever it is they want to do, accomplish whatever it is they want to accomplish. And so they're analytical, and they're into research, and they compare and they contrast, and they ruminate, and they discuss, and they do all of that before they move. They're the ones that gather all the facts and all the information and all the details together and then build the picture. That's the kind of person that we are when we're in that ethos, that energy, that the physical energy of the outside world. And it's a good thing. It's part of who and what we are. Then there's the intuitive world. There's the interior world, the world of the non-material, the non-physical, the spiritual world, which is the vast world. And those who work from their intuition mostly are people who are more interested in patterns and archetypes and symbols and meaning and the esoteric and ideas and all of inspiration, imagination and dreams and so on. And those are people that will be not so much interested in the rule books and in the regulation books or in the past at all. They're not really interested in the past. They're interested in the present and where the present is going to take them into the future. So they're big idea people. But what they do is they first build the picture. They build a picture first. They get the picture, the big picture first. They get the idea, they get the plan first, and then they work back into the details, which is the opposite of what we do when we're coming from our five senses. We get the details together and we work into the plan. Well, the intuitives will get the plan together first, and then they'll work back into the details. And so they are not people that, you know, when you're thinking about the five sensory person as opposed to an intuitive person, the five sensory person may be criticized by the intuitives as being too anal and too oriented toward detail and too persnickety and over-organized and all of that. Whereas the five sensory people would say of the intuitives, well, they're just airy-fairy, they're all over the place, they're in the clouds, they can't put their feet on the ground, you know, it's hard to pin them down, it's, you know, it's hard to get an outline, you know, a logistical outline of things from them and so forth, because they're in pictures, big pictures, they're in this whole different genre of thinking and feeling and doing and being and navigating through life and living. And so your challenge and my challenge is to discover which is our dominant way of being and then pull it into balance. Pull it into balance. Whatever we're not doing enough of on one side, balance out the other side with that. And it's always balance. That's what we're always challenged with on this plane. Balance, balance, balance. We are born into this world with only two kinds of responses to life, an affirmative one or a negative one. It's neither good nor bad. The challenge is to bring in the balance, bring in the balance, bring in that we're either affirming or negating. We're either giving or we're taking. We're givers or we're takers. And we have to become both evenly across the board. So it's the same with intuitive thinking and five sensory thinking. You know, we would call that, as we were calling, Gary Zukav would call it the sensory awareness and the multi-sensory awareness. So on the intuitive side, we have multi-senses. We're not just confined to five. We have multi-senses that we can glean information from and draw from. And that's just generally common sense observations, and this is how it is if you look at it psychologically and so on. But if you look at intuition and you look at the five senses, spiritually, we're looking at it in a whole different way. Ernest Holmes tells us that we have two ways of thinking. And one is a conscious way of thinking and a subconscious way of thinking. And each one affects the other. The conscious thinking gets poured down into the subconscious thinking, mingling up together, and then that produces the life we're living. So there is that external way of thinking, the internal way of thinking, the sensory way of thinking, the multi-sensory way of thinking, and it all just boils down to you have an inner awareness and an outer awareness, that's all. And don't forget your inner awareness. Ernest Holmes says, and I love it, I love it, I love it. He says that the door to the Almighty stands open at the center of our intuitive perception. The door to the Almighty stands open at the center of our intuitive perception. He's telling us that we are physical beings and we are spiritual beings. And a physical being can get caught up in the exterior world of pondering and thinking and analyzing and so on and so forth, and frenetically going around life in that way. And on the other hand, that's not all there is to us. There is that intuitive interior intelligence within us that brings us the greatest of wisdom, the greatest of knowledge, the greatest of understanding. It's there for us, and we get to use it. And it is a power. Even the dictionary says that. It's a capacity or a power to know something without any proof, to know something without any reasoning, just to know it instantly. And you and I are going to be thinking about that this week. How am I with my intuition? Do I care about my intuition? Do I even trust my intuition? Am I bothered at all to give it any attention in my life and living? That's what we're going to be doing next week. Calling forth that intuitive awareness within us as we go through our days. You know, it's good to stop and say, well, I don't know what's going on, but you know what? The divine mind in me knows, and the divine mind in me shows me the way. Leads me on, guides me on, brings me the information I need, helps me to make the choice I need to make, helps me to make the decision I need to make. And trust that that is so. Trust that it is there. That it is there. You're going to be watching out for different kinds of experiences, like when you have a sense sometimes of a constant assistance, and you can't quite put your finger on it, but you know that assistance is there, but it's not something you can spell out, but it's there for you. And to trust that, and to know that this is the moreness of yourself. This is the divinity of yourself. This is the intuitive intelligence within yourself endeavoring to bring you through whatever it is you're going through, and to guide the way through it in a way that helps you to come out of it the better of having gone through it. So we have to trust that inner knowing. A long, long time ago, Ernest Holmes too reminds us that Plotinus said that there are 3 ways of gaining knowledge. That was a long, long, long time ago. Remember, this was long before cyberspace. And his 3 ways were science, opinion, and intuition. Science, opinion, and intuition. That was how he said we discovered knowledge. Well, today, of course, we know there are myriads of ways to discover knowledge and to wake up and remember what we already know. But all of the great ones hone in on the importance and the necessity of us being in touch with our intuitive nature. And we are all intuitive creatures, all of us, without exception. Some of us are more practiced in it, and some of us are not. So the call for us this week is to pay attention to that power, to that presence within us, so that we can have a whole experience of what it is to be a human being with a divinity that is greater than its humanity. A human being whose divinity is greater than its humanity. Ernest Holmes says that intuition is God knowing itself. Well, if intuition, the universal intuitive intelligence, is God knowing itself, the microcosm of that is you knowing yourself as your divinity. And knowing that it is this divinity that is guiding you, and it is present and accessible to you to call upon and use. And it will. And that intuition will blossom in so many different and varied ways. Don't be surprised if it shows up in a dream. Don't be surprised if it shows up in a piece of reading you're reading, or a poem you're reading, or a silly movie you're watching, or something on the ground that you see or you find or whatever, or a stranger crossing your path. You know, be on the lookout for that, because remember, God mostly comes in disguise. You have to have eyes to see, and the inner eye has to see that. This is a direct, message to me from the divine. Anytime I pick up a coin, I will pick up a coin. I do, because I know it's a message. In God you trust, Moira. That's what it reminds me. Trust in the divinity within you. Trust in the divinity within all life. Trust in the divinity everywhere present. And that power and that presence is an awesome power and presence. I mean, it is all powerful. It's in you. It is all knowing. It's in you. It is all present. It's in you. That omni-essence is an aspect of your being. And you can ignore it, or you can use it. You can draw upon it to help you through anything. And that's what we're called to this week, to know this. To know this, that we're not ever, ever alone. Never, ever alone. How could we be alone if God is everywhere present? Even in the loneliest of places, we couldn't be alone if God is everywhere present. That's what omnipresence is. Everywhere present. So we never can be alone. So telling ourselves that we are alone is one of the greatest illusions, because we're not. We are more than ourselves, thanks be to goodness. We are more than ourselves. And we always have that power. We always have that presence to call upon. And when I know that, when you know that, what we have to do, regardless of the circumstances in our lives, is to live as though this is so. And it's to live as though God, which is not a person, never was a person, never will be a person, God, a power, a force, a presence, an energy, always wants my good, wants to be of assistance, but must be invited, awaits my availability. We'll hear this over and over again until we eventually get it. Must be invited and awaits my availability. And I must be able to, no matter what's going on, as I share this morning, whether I have half a wheel on my wagon, for less one, the other 3 all gone and the spare 2, I have to be able, when I know this, I can stand and I can say, all is well. When I know this, even though I have half a wheel on my wagon, that I am not broken, I am not harmed, I am not less than, nothing has been taken away from me, even though it appears to the world out there that I'm battered, bruised, and broken. I know differently. And when I know that, and when I call forth that power, that presence that never leaves me no matter what condition I am in, I can pick myself up. And it doesn't matter how low down I have gone. I can creep, I can crawl, I can climb until I'm standing tall and my shoulders are behind me and firm, and knowing that doesn't matter what the appearances are, as Ernest Holmes says. We have this tendency as humankind to judge by appearances, and when we judge by appearances, what we're doing is judging by experiences until now, and limiting the power and the presence of Spirit within us to make all things new and create new and different experiences for ourselves. So we have to get ourselves up, and we have to stand tall no matter what. No matter what, no matter what. And that's the hard part, is to stop the world from identifying you and telling you how you are and what you are and who you are, and start allowing that intuitive intelligence within you to identify you as its own self, so that you can say, I am all that I am. I am all that I am. I am all that I am. And shout it in your weakest moments until your strength begins to grow. And it will, and it will, and it will. Because you are not just a human being. You are more than that. You are the divine itself, showing up in form, having a human experience. That's what you are. And you must come into the awareness of your own truth sooner or later. Why not let it be now? Why not? At whatever stage you are at, whatever condition you're in, no matter what your circumstances are, why not now let it be the moment when you tap into, tune into, switch on, high volume, the infinite intuitive intelligence within you that can turn everything and anything around and bring you through anything and help you to overcome everything in every way that you need to. That's the message today that Spirit wants to get across to us and wants us to be working with this week, our intuitive intelligence, working alongside of it. And when we're quick to make decisions and when we're quick to allow the machinations of the monkey mind, the conscious mind, to go in all directions, to call it back with calling up the intuitive intelligence from the heart, from the deep, deep well of wisdom and fountain of knowledge that resides within the heart of us, which is the soul of us, so that you and I can stop meeting each other simply mind to mind, but that we're able to meet each other soul to soul and see beyond appearances that keep us stopped and keep us blocked. It's no wonder that in the turn of the 20th century and in the early 1900s at the patent office in America, one of the patent people was heard to say, well, we can close down the office now because everything that could be invented has been invented. That's the truth. That was a statement made in the patent office in the early 1900s. We've only just begun. We're learning now with cyberspace, etc. Have you only just begun? Or are you near only just beginning to understand the hugeness and the vastness and the amazement and the magnificence of yourself? Maybe it's this moment now. Maybe you're only getting it now, this very moment. Isn't that a wonderful thing? It doesn't matter when we get it as long as we get it. But how long are we going to let it ride until it dawns on us? The truth of our being, who we are, what we are, and how we can be. So what we have to do with intuition is what Emerson says. Once we can see the completed picture, once we can see the finished result, then, he says, the way by which that finished result is going to be accomplished will appear. Will appear. So I have to see myself and know myself the way truth sees and knows me, the way spirit sees and knows me, as this magnificent, radiant aspect of its own being with the capacity to bring about whatever good I so desire. That's how I have to see myself, going into setting my intention and building it and seeing the picture and then working back into the details, knowing that those details must appear with regard to how that must be done. Because that's the law of life. That's the teaching. That's the promise. And Spirit, the infinite, intuitive, universal intelligence of life, keeps its promises. So if you want to hold Spirit to the promise, you must work alongside of its law and not contrary to it. And that means think good, feel good, be good, and good and only good can be the only thing you experience in your life. Or whatever it is. Think prosperity, feel prosperous, move as though you're a prosperous being, and it has to be. Think like a person who knows how to produce a loving relationship. Feel like that person, be that person, and that's what you'll attract. Think healthy thoughts, feel healthy, and behave in a healthy fashion, and health must come to you. That's the way the law works. And the law is your obedient servant and mine too. Works for us when we're working with it, doesn't work for us when we work against it, because it'll obey us on the affirmative and the negative side of life too. So this week, be on the lookout for all those intuitive things that want to inspire you, that want to ripple up through you, that want to express itself out from you, that moves you in a direction that you wouldn't dream of normally, that happens just like that. Out of the blue, we say. Isn't it interesting that the color of pure energy is blue? The color of pure energy is blue. So out of the blue means out of pure energy. Out of that instantaneous knowing awareness within you. And this is what we're knowing for this week, that whatever it is, whatever that good is that wants to express itself in me and through me now, that I have been resisting, that I have been postponing, that I have been in the way of, no more, because I am all that I am now. I am all that I am now. Say it with me. I am all that I am now, like you mean it. I am all that I am now. One more time. I am all that I am now. And so it is.
We invite you to experience Dr. Moira in person on Sundays. Our services are at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., and childcare is available. Please join us. If you enjoy these messages and would like to make a donation to our center, please visit our website at redondocsl.org. Thank you for your support of this ministry.